And we're back. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but I've had them all day and yesterday as well. Let's pick up where we left off. This is, for Harry the Greek at least, this is probably the biggest story that he's covered in 10 or 20 years. Because it comes down to who do we have any say in who gets to be in office or not at any level, the county level, state level, or federal level. Do we have any say in the laws that are made and applied to us, or the selective? I think the big problem in America right now is the selective enforcement of the laws. An example is if I were to go into the richest neighborhood in Atlanta, which is right next door, right outside the CDC, and if I were to steal something really small, if I was to pilfer something worth $40 from one of the $10 million homes there, I would be, I'd have 3 cop cars on me within minutes. And where someone, if you have a higher status, if you're high up on the pecking order, you can steal $500 million and not do a day in jail. You might have to pay a penalty, but you're not going to do a day in jail. So it's the selective enforcement of laws that is my big beef. All right, let's go back to the case in question of Eugene Yu. His real name is Jianwei Yu, and his arrest and his transfer to Los Angeles. Mr. George Gascon. Who is George Gascon? Well, first of all, he was born in Cuba, and I don't know exactly how old he was when he came over to the States, but he was relatively young. And he went to university here. He, in fact, I think he went to college just across the street from where I used to live in California, at Cal State Long Beach. Let's see if I can pick up Mr. Gascon's photo. Yeah, he, having grown up in Havana, Cuba, you can't be too unfamiliar with the concepts of communism, or at least some flavor of socialism. So that's already, for many voters in Southern California, they should have picked up on that, or rather, better yet, it should come as a surprise to people in California that he's taking some of the questionable decisions that he's taking right now. All right, share screen. I promise as we go along over the next few weeks, I'll get better and better at the production side. For right now, you'll have to bear with me. Got a lot going on these past few days. All right, Mr. George Gascon. Let's try and blow that up. Looks like a nice enough guy. Dresses in fine Italian suits. I'll give him that. Okay, George Gascon, Democrat for LA District Attorney. Let's see if there's a Wikipedia. Okay, Wikipedia for Mr. George Gascon. I'm going to title, the next show is going to be entitled George Gascon, George Soros' Garçon. There he is. He's an American attorney and former law enforcement officer. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, hopefully you can see that. And a member of the Democratic Party, former Republican. Gascon served as district attorney of San Francisco from 2011 to 2019. Prior to his work as a prosecutor, he was assistant chief of police for the LAPD and chief of police in Mesa, Arizona. That's important. Mesa, Arizona. I know a little bit about Mesa. I used to make frequent business trips to Mesa, Arizona, and San Francisco. He was born in Havana in 1967. His family, so he was 13 when he moved, and settled in Bell, California. He entered the United States Army at the age of 18 and became a sergeant. After earning a Bachelor's of Arts in History from Cal State Long Beach, he joined the LAPD as a patrol officer. Okay, so this is the American story, right? Statue of Liberty says, give me your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, etc., and so on. And so he did what lots of people in Cuba would do. He tried to come to the States and, well, his parents did, and make a better life for themselves. But it's the way that he chose to do it after graduating from college that raises a few eyebrows, at least by myself and Harry. It's his. Apparently, his parents were more right of center, as most people who have kids are, and so it was the transition from a right of center to a far left position that's very curious here, and probably endured him to Mr. George Soros and other members of the Open Society. Okay. So his tenure in the LAPD was not without scandals, but that goes for just about anybody in law enforcement these days. Nothing to see there. But here it's as Mesa chief of police. He had clashes with the famous Joe Arpaio at the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office over immigration issues, obviously, targeting Latinos. Arpaio regularly conducted saturation patrols and immigration sweeps targeting Latino neighborhoods and day laborers. Arpaio allegedly stopped cars with Latino drivers or passengers to check their immigration status. Gascon condemned the policies and tactics of Arpaio and actively worked to protect the Latino community in Mesa. So, as far as I know, a heavy factor in the goings on in Mesa are the aerospace companies, predominantly Raytheon and Boeing. Raytheon and Boeing have a large say in what goes on in political circles, in the political sphere there in Mesa. So I'm wondering if it might even be a former boss of mine that had interactions with the Mesa chief of police. Okay, where am I going with all this? There is a lot of the media that does pick up on this story. I mean, the alternative media that do pick up on this story will push the China narrative. That it's Beijing that has a couple of influential characters in California and Arizona, and they're trying to infiltrate these honest, wholesome institutions such as the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I will beg to differ with that point of view. It's not just China, or Russia, but there is a very large operation going on. It's a bipartisan. In fact, as George has described many times, a lot of the men, the whistleblowers that have come forward, talking about their top secret clearances, the programs that they worked on, had approval from all the ranking Democrats and all the ranking Republicans. So this is not a left versus right issue. We have to get our neighbors and friends off of this left-right paradigm. Anyway, enough about Mr. Gascon for the moment. Let's jump to the judge, Donald Allen. As you saw in that short clip, Mr. Allen has seen a lot of interesting cases, but he has not. Where did I put his file? But as you see in that attached video, he was frustrated. Let's put it that way. He was frustrated that certain procedures, certain things that you do every day in a courtroom setting, were not being accomplished. Oh, the reason that I wanted to show that video so badly was it shows that the original case number did exist. Judge Allen is holding in his hand the docket, and it said, it's got font 72, 2022-01561-EX in it. So that the reason for the different case number might be nothing. It might be just a typographical error, or I just don't know enough about the system to find the right case or where to look for the right docket. But it might be a factor, the changing the case number. All right. Justice. Well, let's just go back to Wikipedia again. Even though I don't really like using Wikipedia, except for the bare essentials. Like Mark Kulak always says, Wikipedia lies by omission. Now, I'm not in any way trying to point a finger at Judge Allen. I'm just saying he was surprised. He was frustrated by how unusual this case has started out. Again, this is Ingham County, Michigan. And I should have been sharing this screen. Sorry about that. All right, let's go back and see if we can. I'm sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to have to wrap it up in a few minutes here, and we'll continue again tomorrow at 6:30. I just want everybody to focus for a few minutes, to turn off the TV, tell everybody in your neighborhood to turn off their TV, take a couple of vacation days, and do some hard research on this case and related cases, those that involve election integrity, because it looks like we have some very sketchy people, or people whose backers are very sketchy individuals, and they seem to be running the whole election process. And that should be of great concern. And also look into Harry's story about HR 1, the For the People Act, that the two go together. The For the People Act was not written by people, by elected representatives who really care about the people. There's a lot of language, especially the sections that have to do with putting a clamp on citizen journalists who share disinformation. That's part of HR 1. So take a look at that as well. Yeah, get people to turn off their TV, start talking about these things, because even if you don't believe, if you don't have don't put much stock in the electoral process, this is the time. This is definitely the time where we have to pull out all the stops and find out what's going on, because otherwise, this will be the very last election we'll ever hold, will ever be held in America. Okay. Again, see you tomorrow at 6:30 and 6:30 Eastern. That's 3:30 Pacific. And thanks again to all of you for your constant support of Research Roadshow.